Welcome back to the Cross-Threaded Wheelnut podcast, where Mercedes have apparently built a teenage Terminator, Red Bull have entered the midfield, and Aston Martin are now treating finish the race like a heritage moment.
And Suzuka, a circuit designed to reveal excellence, has spent the weekend exposing several organizations as expensive coping mechanisms.
Kimi Antonelli won. Again.
Yes, which is becoming less how exciting for the future, and more the future has entered the building and taken your parking space. Welcome to Paddock Pandemonium, the fast, funny post-mortem on Formula One weekends, strategic malpractice, and paddock delusion.
I'm Ant Thomas.
I'm Harper Andrews.
And this is the Cross-Threaded Wheelnut podcast.
Right, Japan. The final result, Antonelli wins for Mercedes, Piastri second, and Leclerc third, rounding out the podium. Russell was an excruciating fourth, Norris fifth, Hamilton sixth, Gasly seventh, Verstappen eighth, Lawson ninth, Ocon 10th.
Which means Mercedes have now won all 3 races this season, and Antonelli has gone from extremely promising child to youngest championship leader in Formula One history in about 10 working days.
He is now less promising youngster, and more HR should probably be informed. Antonelli's race is funny because it should have gone wrong. Pole. Poor getaway, suddenly 6th. Race briefly looking like one of those character-building afternoons people pretend to enjoy.
And instead he just waited for the safety car, reset the order, and murdered the race.
Mercedes as a team are now reaching the deeply irritating stage where even their problems look temporary and educational. Antonelli loses half the grid at turn 1 and still wins. Russell gets ruined by pit timing, harvesting limitations, a software issue, and what sounds like a laptop dying in public, and they still finish 1st and 4th.
Mercedes have built a car so good one side of the garage wins races and the other writes a formal complaint to physics.
Antonelli is also starting to drive like a man with a mortgage, a tax return, and 3 former teammates who no longer make eye contact.
It is deeply offensive how calm he is. There's no visible strain, no wobble. He just reappears at the front like the race briefly forgot who he was.
McLaren, in fairness, looked properly alive. Piastri got the launch, took the lead, and for a while looked like the only person with a credible claim to the afternoon.
Which makes it even funnier that McLaren's main achievement this weekend was being excellent in a way that still somehow felt slightly provisional.
That is very McLaren, genuinely threatening but with a faint administrative draft coming off it.
Piastri's race was strong. Norris recovered to 5th and got past Hamilton late. Andrea Stella was encouraged, which is good. He should be. McLaren finally turned up to a weekend looking less like a very fast apology and more like an actual Formula One team. I mean, Oscar even started the race.
Still not quite there, but no longer giving the impression they are trying to solve race pace by breathing into a paper bag.
Ferrari have once again delivered the classic Maranello combo. Enough pace to matter, enough confusion to waste it, and just enough success to stop anyone throwing furniture.
Leclerc got 3rd, which is fine, but Ferrari always managed to make fine feel like a minor electrical fire.
Hamilton's afternoon was even better. For a few laps, it looked vaguely encouraging after the safety car. Then it turned into another Ferrari performance review conducted at speed.
Ferrari are now so institutionally strange that even when they do a decent job, you still assume someone important has just sighed into a headset.
They are the only top team who can stand on the podium and still look like they need therapy.
The biggest serious moment of the weekend was Oliver Behrman's crash. He went off at very high speed, took a huge impact, and fortunately escaped without major injury. That part matters more than any punchline.
And absolutely. But what is still fair game is the sport's genius-level ability to spend billions on engineering and then act startled when drivers point out that enormous closing speed differences might end in catastrophe. Proof where there is brilliance, there will always also be stupidity.
Drivers and team bosses have already called for urgent action, and rightly so. If people warn you about the risk, and then the exact sort of ugly scenario they warned about turns up in public, that ceases to be one of those things and becomes gross incompetence with a press release.
Formula One cannot keep behaving like safety reviews are ones from Trustpilot.
I'd have figured you for more of a Google reviews kind of guy, Ant. You think you know someone?
Max Verstappen started 11th and finished 8th at Suzuka. Suzuka, a circuit where he had previously looked less like a driver and more like a recurring weather pattern.
And now he is openly describing Red Bull as being in the midfield battle, which is the sort of sentence that should trigger a building-wide alarm in Milton Keynes.
This is not a minor dip. This is institutional embarrassment. This is the sporting equivalent of opening your front door in a silk dressing gown and realizing the neighbors can see everything.
Especially because the problem isn't one dramatic failure. It's worse than that. It's chronic. The car looks awkward, the battery deployment is awkward, the overtaking is awkward, the entire thing sounds like a machine assembled by people who blocked Christian Horner on social media.
Red Bull have gone from the benchmark of modern Formula One to Pierre Gasly's afternoon enrichment program.
And that is not an exaggeration. Gasly kept Verstappen behind him for the entire race, which is objectively hilarious.
Red Bull are now one bad weekend away from being described with the phrase, just better than Colapinto.
Do not say that near them. Someone will faint, and Flavio will take a swing at you. But being serious for a moment, Pierre Gasly deserves proper praise. 7th place, points again, and an afternoon spent essentially acting as a moving referendum on Red Bull's decline.
Gasly drove like a man who knew the funniest possible outcome was keeping Max in his mirrors until the checkered flag and decided to commit to the bit.
Lawson took 9th. Ocon grabbed his first point of the season, and Haas remained 4th in the Constructors' Championship despite only 3 functional legs between their two drivers at the moment.
Which is maybe the most 2026 sentence of the lot. And now, Aston Martin, or as they are now known, the latest chemical castration for one last elusive Alonso victory.
This weekend was astonishingly bleak. Back row in qualifying. Stroll retires. Alonso finishes 18th, 1 lap down. At Honda's home race.
That is not a result. That is an insult in branded clothing or a repeat of 2015 as far as Fernando's concerned.
The team's tone afterwards was incredible as well. We finished the race with Fernando. Yes, lovely. We've moved from points to existence.
Aston Martin are no longer setting performance targets. They are collecting small mercies like Victorian orphans.
There is something uniquely savage about taking Fernando Alonso, one of the most combative, intelligent, unkillable drivers of the modern era, and reducing him to a man publicly describing 18 pesos as clear progress.
That's not development. That's a cry for help with a partnership accoutrements.
Well, Ant, it's that time again. Time for the awards.
All right. To start us off, the golden wheel nut goes to Kimi Antonelli for proving that even a bad start now only counts as an inconvenience to his schedule.
Next is the cross-threaded disaster class goes to Aston Martin for using Honda's home race to stage a live demonstration of aerodynamic grief and disobedience.
I'd buy that album, you know. A brief moment of competence goes to Pierre Gasly for turning an entire Grand Prix into a slow, lawful humiliation of Red Bull racing.
And the main character delusion goes to Red Bull for arriving at Suzuka under the apparent impression that past dominance would continue out of politeness.
Lastly, the FIA Please Explain award goes to the whole regulatory closing speed nonsense, because we review it after someone nearly got launched into the atmosphere is not a serious way to run a world championship, but that's why I'm just an idiot who shouldn't be behind a microphone. So, all in all, I'm giving this weekend 4.5 cross-threaded wheel nuts out of 5.
Same. Strong qualifying story, weird strategic swing, Antonelli ascendancy, Red Bull humiliation, actual midfield combat, and enough institutional weirdness to keep everyone hydrated on content alone for the next 4 weeks.
Minus half a wheel nut because Aston Martin was so slow, they make Cadillac look like a seasoned unit.
You're thinking about chips again. Whilst you do that, here are our completely reasonable conclusions from the Japanese Grand Prix weekend.
1. Mercedes have accidentally opened a finishing school for assassins.
2. Kimi Antonelli is now less the future and more a current workplace hazard.
3. Red Bull are no longer in a title fight. They are in a deeply emotional book club with the midfield.
4. Pierre Gasly has become a regional governor of the midfield.
5. Ferrari continue to operate as if every decent result must be accompanied by a faint smell of electrical sorrow.
6. Aston Martin are no longer chasing points. They are chasing forgiveness.
And 7. Formula One has once again proven that the pinnacle of motorsport is, at heart, still a very expensive way for adults to learn consequences.
And that was Paddock Pandemonium. Antonelli wins, Mercedes keep winning, McLaren look alive, Ferrari look vexed, and Red Bull have entered the midfield discourse.
Until next time, respect Suzuka. Distrust cheap safety cars, and never let a team tell you 18 pesos is encouraging.
Bye for now.